Hello everybody, going to be doing another video for you guys today, and we are playing Legacy Delver, and we're playing the Grixis version. Now, Infect is my pet deck, but honestly this deck is just a lot stronger. I've been winning a lot more with it. It's more flexible, more powerful, and I would highly recommend you buy this deck if you're looking for an aggressive Legacy deck that's going to win you games. So, like any Delver deck, Delver Secrets is your main threat. And then you got your Young Pyromancers, unsurprisingly, and the main reason we're playing black is Deathrite Shaman. If you've never seen this card played, it's absurd. Deathrite Shaman it does everything you want. It kills them, it keeps you alive, it screws them if they're trying to play Gurmag Anglers or Tarmogoyfs, and it screws with Reanimator, and it can help you deal with other combo decks like Storm, just by exiling their stuff from their bin before they can flash it back. It's a great threat. It's a really good card. Now, as you can see, the deck only has 14 lands, and part of why it's so strong is because you just draw less lands than your opponents, and you win games that way. We have 2 Gurmag Anglers as our top end, and then you'll note we have 4 Wastelands, which I didn't put with the other lands because you're only casting Pyromancers and Anglers with these things, and most of the time you're just trying to strip away their lands. So, we have 4 Lightning Bolts, unsurprisingly, and 1 Dismember. This just helps you deal with Anglers, Tarmogoyfs, Reality Smashers, and Thought-Knot Seers and that sort of thing. We have a lot of cantrips, and the reason for that is we need 4 Gitaxian Probe, because you play Young Pyromancer, Gitaxian Probe, look at their hand, Cabal Therapy, take at least 1 card, maybe more, and then you flash it back for free because you're getting these tokens off of Young Pyromancer. So you get to take like 2 cards out of their hand, and it's pretty busted. We have a 1-of Spell Pierce. It's good against a lot of different things. It always does something, pretty much. There's very few matchups where it's not gonna at least do something for you. And we run the full 4 Force of Will and Daze because this deck is very much about getting an early advantage and pushing that advantage. So you need these 0-mana counterspells in order to keep that for you. I'd say the big difference between this main deck and a lot of other main decks that I've seen is that some people choose to play Forked Bolt over Dismember, which I just think is a mistake. Like, the Eldrazi decks are far too abundant for Forked Bolt to work. Like, Forked Bolt is good in the mirror and against other creature-based archetypes, but there's too many Eldrazi decks running around. You need at least 1 Dismember in your deck. So that brings us to our sideboard options. We have 2 Flusterstorm against Storm, obviously. Surgical Extraction helps against a lot of different decks. One of the biggest things you want to get rid of with Surgical Extraction is definitely Punishing Fires, because that card just wrecks you. We have a 3rd Cabal Therapy against combo decks, 2 Dark Blast to deal with creature decks. It's really good in the mirror. The other option, if you don't like Dark Blast, is Umezawa's Jitte, which is definitely a more powerful card, but the problem is it costs 4 mana to get, the same thing that casting a Dark Blast twice will do. And it's a lot riskier, and this deck generally functions off of like 2 or 3 lands, so the dream of playing one and equipping one and getting to hit them like twice, which is where you're really happy, it's just too much for me. I don't think that that's a good way to win games with this deck. Then we have Painful Truths, which helps us deal with being ground out by like Miracles or Shardless Bug. Pyroblast, pretty obvious, it's just a nice card to have around. Ancient Grudge is mostly to get rid of Chalice of the Void, because, as you can see, if we sort this by CMC, almost half of our deck is 1-drops. So, unless you draw like a Young Pyromancer or a Gurmag Angler, you're basically gonna die if they play Chalice. And that's another thing that Daze and Force of Will are really important for, is just getting rid of their Chalices, because, the Eldrazi deck's playing a lot of them. And then we have 2 Baleful Strix, which is also going to help you in those types of matchups. It's going to block Reality Smashers, it's going to block Thought-Knot Seers and Tarmogoyfs and other Gurmag Anglers and things like that. And it's really nice against Chalice decks because it lets you block a big threat, and it also, I guess not Chalice decks, but Eldrazi specifically, because it lets you block a big threat while dodging Chalice and drawing into, like, getting closer to your Ancient Grudge. And then we have Pithing Needle, which is just a really versatile card. It can hit Sensei's Top, it can hit Aether Vial, it can hit like Maze of Ith or Thespian Stage. It's just a very flexible card. It's a good card that you should have. And I do have one honorable mention, which is Winter Orb. Which basically, if you're playing in a metagame where you're concerned about lands, because lands is a really bad matchup, you can put 1 to 2 of these in your sideboard, and it's going to help you out a lot. The reason I'm not playing any is because lands is one of the most expensive decks on Magic Online, and it only represents like 3% of the meta, so I don't think it's worthwhile to have a card in my sideboard dedicated to just them. So we're going to take this into a daily, or not daily, a league, and we'll see how it goes.